Hello, everyone, and welcome to the day after recap show brought to you by irishsportsdaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flamong. I guess it's more like evening after recap, but whatever case may be, I'm back from South Bend, and I want to talk about the game. I haven't given my thoughts yet. I was not on the post-game show with Mike and Jamie because I can't be on the post-game show from the press box. They don't allow that. So I was producing the show. Mike and Jamie were giving their thoughts on what happened. I've had a lot of time to think about the game, right? I've been awake for a very long time. I tweeted out I've been awake for, I got an hour and a half worth of sleep. I got to the hotel room about 2 a.m. in the morning, fell asleep around 2:30, had to wake up at 4 to get to the airport to catch my flight in Chicago. I had a 2-hour drive. So, but I'm back at my house and I'm caffeinated. I've got a lot of thoughts about what happened. So we're going to talk about it. I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't have a ton of tolerance for this ex-player sucks, ex-coach sucks, whatever. I'm not a big fan of that stuff. We can talk critically, and I'm going to talk critically about what we saw and from a kind of a player standpoint and from a coaching standpoint, but I don't like emoting. That's not my favorite thing. Ask questions, be mature about it. We're going to do that. So thank you everyone for tuning in. If you like what you hear today, hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know whenever it is we are going live. Links to the podcast are going to be in the description below. And as always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing. You've seen it on all your favorite Notre Dame players and coaches, and founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang. ESQ is your go-to spot for the best handmade custom suits, sport coats, tuxedo shirts, and more. ESQ's master tailors combine next-level craftsmanship with the finest fabrics to deliver a fit that's built just for you. Now with showrooms both downtown Chicago and in Winnetka. Book your custom fitting at esqclothing.com. Mention ISD in your appointment. Get 10% off your entire purchase. That's esqclothing.com. Thank you, everyone, for being here right now. There was an early question about Samson's tweet from Jason Z. He asked me, Greg, did you see Samson's tweet about Carr tipping run versus pass plays? So Pete Sampson of The Athletic put out a tweet today that he had heard. I don't know if it was during the game or after the game. There was word trickling through the press box about CJ Carr tipping run versus pass with his feet alignment. If his feet were parallel, it was a run play. If his feet were slightly staggered, it was a pass play. And this was true on, I think it was 58 out of 64 plays. There were only a couple plays. Obviously, Texas A&M picked up on this, and then I think Notre Dame picked up on it as well. So it might have gotten corrected. I'm not totally sure. It's interesting to me though that I'd be a little bit concerned if my defense knew run versus pass on a play-to-play basis based on the quarterback's feet alignment, and you're giving up 6 yards per play and 429 yards of offense. So, obviously, that's the sort of thing you get when you have a young quarterback, right? And we've seen a lot of these kind of young quarterback mistakes. And in the first half, Notre Dame could snap the ball and throw the ball up for a Hail Mary, but he thinks he's running out the clock and he gets frustrated, claps his hands out of frustration. Clapping your hands is the signal to snap the ball. So the ball gets snapped. Notre Dame jumps on it. But then A&M almost had an opportunity to kick a field goal right before half. They missed a 52-yarder. So obviously that's something he's got to think about, right? I think there's been some intentional groundings that are kind of youthful in the way that goes, but you got to kind of expect that from your quarterback. I do want to start with the offense before we get to the defense, because I think most people are upset about the defense, right? And Chris Ash and what they're doing and how everyone played defensively. And I think when you give up 41 points, that's going to be the main topic of conversation. I want to get to the offense first, because I think as I was thinking about this last night, as I was driving back to the hotel, as I was on the plane today, I was thinking about the offense, and this is not a 0-2 offense. Frankly, this is a 2-0 offense. Notre Dame has played, especially specifically at the quarterback position. CJ Carr has exceeded expectations in both of Notre Dame's football games. And if you had told me ahead of time, CJ Carr will play better than you expect going into the game, I would have guaranteed Notre Dame was 2-0. right? That's it. That was, kind of assuming the defense was going to be at a level that I expected, and they have not been, right? But this is not an 0-2 offense. I think this is a 2-0 offense in the way that they've played. And I think that yesterday is important from the standpoint of going forward. Notre Dame put the template together offensively and what it needs to look like. Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price combined for 35 carries for 162 yards. 4 touchdowns between them total. Jeremiah Love had a receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown. Jadarian Price had 2 rushing touchdowns. CJ Carr throws for 293 yards. Okay. That is how you win football games for Notre Dame offensively, right? So they made a very nice jump from what they did against Miami. They didn't get their best players as many touches as they wanted. Jeremiah Love touches the ball 27 times yesterday. That's what you want. You want Jeremiah Love touching the ball that much. Jadarian Price, he gets the 12 carries, plus he's the kickoff returner, right? So he is he's right at 99 yards of all-purpose yards with the kickoff return yards and the rushing yards, and then 2 touchdowns, average 5.7 yards per carry. Jeremiah Love, 23 carries for 94 yards. A lot of tough yards in that game, right? I thought we saw Notre Dame's offensive line bounce back. Now, granted, it wasn't a dominant performance, but it was definitely good enough to win, right? And CJ Carr was not harassed throughout the night. He had an average depth of target. I believe it was 14 point something in a clean pocket. I think it was a little bit less when he was pressured, but 14 point yards per attempt, or average depth of target when he's throwing out of a clean pocket. They gave him time to throw. He had numerous opportunities to get the ball down the field. Malachi Fields had a nice day. They gave him some go balls. CJ Carr sailed a couple to him, but that's going to happen. He caught 4 passes for 77 yards. Eli Raridan had a very good game. Notre Dame ran a flea flicker that they had time to run. So I thought the offensive line bounced back from what we saw in week 1. I thought that Mike Denbrock had a good plan for getting his guys touches. It just didn't work out for them in terms of the score or in terms of winning the game and the outcome. But 34 points on the board with, obviously you have 33 points on the board with the missed extra point. But obviously you have a touchdown coming from special teams, right? 33 points should win every single game Notre Dame plays. If Notre Dame's offense is going to score 33 points, they should win every single time. And they have not, right? And we know that why that is. We're going to get into that. Jake Teska says, utterly dejected with this loss. Defense looks so fast. It's hard to see this team even winning out to have a playoff chance. First of all, I do want to talk a little bit about the atmosphere and what the day was. The media gets to go on the field in the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. We go down to the, I guess it's the south end zone, the side with the tunnel. And basically when the game ends, the media goes up the tunnel. That's why we go down there. The media goes up the tunnel, and then they go into their press conference room. So we're down on the field. I've been to some. I was at Louisville last year, which was a big game, right? Louisville was ranked about the same as A&M was this year. It was as electric as anything I've ever experienced. The fans were insane. They were unhinged in a good way, right? In kind of the best way. And that's what you want out of your home crowd in a game like that. I was able to disassociate myself from what was going on when I was on the field. And I'm taking video or whatever. I can't post it, but just kind of for my own, just taking in the whole scene. It was loud. It was electric. Obviously, it was a devastating thing. I mean, it felt just like 2023 Ohio State in terms of how that game ended. The fans were, I mean, it was people just had looks of shock on their face. It's just, it's a very bad way to go about, the end of it. To go about an ending like that. It's heartbreaking for Notre Dame. And so I do want to just kind of credit that. I also want to credit everybody who was in the tailgate lots and everyone who was around. If you saw me, and I'll tell you what, this is the most anyone has ever kind of come up to me and be like, hey, Greg, like, love the show, right? This is happening a lot. And if you did that, I so appreciate it. I had a couple of listeners, couple of subscribers to Irish Sports Daily reach out to me on Twitter, went to their tailgates, very accommodating. Mitchell Vahiluk and his family had a nice chat with them. And I want to shout out Douglas McAnally. Douglas McAnally and his friends and his crew. They invited me to their tailgate, went to their tailgate, and there was some amazing brisket. There were some amazing ribs. Really appreciate you guys. So, hey, if you were reaching out and talking to me, really appreciate that stuff. It really made the day very special for me personally. Jason Z says, is Greathouse not getting any targets because Carr is not going to the middle of the field or something else? I think sometimes he's just looking other places, right? The thing is about CJ Carr, and something that I'm specifically impressed with is I don't find myself thinking, he's looking in the wrong place here. There's times when he's missing open receivers, but I also feel like if the defense is busting in a way where CJ Carr shouldn't be looking to that area of the field because his first read is open and available, you can't get on a quarterback for that, right? A lot of people do the thing where it's like, oh, he had him running up seam. It's like, yeah, but he's not looking there. He's not supposed to. It's not his first read. To me, it's funny because Matt Freeman, right before Jaden Greathouse caught the long pass, it was his first catch of the season. Matt Freeman was sitting next to me. He's like, they should probably get Jaden Greathouse involved, and they did. So yeah, I mean, Will Pauling caught his first pass. They were going underneath to Jordan Faison. He caught some underneath passes there. Obviously, they're trying to work Jeremiah Love out of the backfield. So I think they are spreading the ball around pretty good, and I think there will be a game where Jaden Greathouse is featured a little bit more than he has been, right? I thought the coverage was the way they were playing coverage. I thought it was right for Malachi Fields to have a big game. You know, they ran those slants at the goal line. I would have loved it, and Matt was agreeing with me. I would have loved to see a fade there. Let him use his size. When you get him on the in route, it's like you're kind of trying to fit it in there. Like to me, put it up in the air and let him go get it, because I thought he had a size advantage on Willie, and he's kind of shown the ability to go get the ball. I'd like to see him more on the fade ball in the end zone if they're going to be throwing that. John Imperial says, Greg, does leaving Carr in on Wildcat runs do anything to deceive the defense? I don't think it's about deception per se. I think they're trying to get a numbers advantage up front, or to get them in a formation that they're not used to. I thought Notre Dame had a couple busts on the fourth down. I'd have to go look back on film. I don't know that he should be bouncing it there. And the thing he's got to keep in mind is if he's bouncing it, you do need that blocking from your wide receiver. And if the wide receiver is played by CJ Carr, he's not going to give you the block that you need, right? He's not going to wall off. So he's got to be aware. I got to be very, very sure if I bounce this, I can get the corner. I think to me that the main problem with the Wildcat when it wasn't successful is they just had busts. They had busts inside. And I don't know the blocking scheme or whatever. Like, it seems like someone's got to be blocking down and someone's blocking straight ahead. I couldn't tell you who it is, and I don't want to just name someone who I think it might be. It's one of those things. They've had busts, they've had a couple of busts on the quarterback power against Miami. They had a bust when they're trying to block down, and Gerby Lambert doesn't block down, and there's a free runner right through the A gap, which is obviously going to blow up any sort of short yardage play. So, let me get to some more comments here. Jason Warnock says, I think the one thing helping Notre Dame is there aren't any dominant teams, and there could be plenty of 2-loss teams, maybe some 3-loss teams. Yeah, I mean, they got to play better, right? I mean, everyone's kind of talking about the playoffs and Notre Dame needs to play good football, right? And especially on the defensive side of the ball. You're never going to – it doesn't matter what their path is or whether they can get in with 2 losses. They got to win a game. They got to start winning games. They got to put some wins together. And if you look at the way that A&M was able to move the ball on them, you got to start thinking about, okay, like what is Arkansas going to do with their quarterback? What is NC State going to do with CJ Bailey? What is USC going to do with their passing game? right? You know Lincoln Riley can throw the ball. I mean, USC did yards against Notre Dame with the secondary that they had last year, right? So with that quarterback and the two best wide receivers they have in Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane, we've already seen that. So it's something that that they've got to get figured out. I don't care about the playoff situation. The playoff situation will take care of itself if they win out. They gotta start winning games, and that's the important thing. Pat Sobkowski says, Greg, would it be insane for Freeman to fire Ash and take over defensive play calling? I don't think you need to fire him. If you're going to take over defensive play calling, then take over defensive play calling without firing the guy. What? Because you're losing a coach. Why lose a coach? Because you can't replace. So it's if Marcus Freeman feels like it's best for him to take over the defense, then he can do that. I don't know how Marcus Freeman feels about it. I'm not going to say they need to fire him because I don't know. I don't know what Marcus Freeman feels the issues are. I mean, he said in the press conference yesterday, it's an execution thing, right? And to some extent it is, but I think there's deeper issues, in my opinion, that are going on. And so they need to get that figured out. First half, what was the problem in the run game? Guys were in the backfield and block. Yeah, they just had busts on specific plays, like gotta have it plays. Like the first drive that they had, they got 3rd and 1. I mean, you run for 9, you got a 3rd and 1, and you gets blown up. You run that you unblock. You're unblocked on the edge, and you're running wildcat, and you lose 4. Like if you're in that formation, losing yardage like that should be a no-go. Like that should never happen. It should not be possible to lose 4 yards in a wildcat situation. So that's the problem. BG says, when do the training wheels come off for Carr? I don't know that he has training wheels right now. I mean, they're doing some stuff that's he's reading the field. I mean, he's throwing deep. They're running flea flickers to him. They're running wheels with him. They're multi-layered kind of with him. I mean, I don't know that there's a ton of training wheels. And again, I'm shocked that Notre Dame is 0-2 given the way that Carr has played. I'm not saying he's perfect because he clearly isn't, right? That's self-evident to everyone who's watching this and listening to this. It's self-evident he's not perfect, but I think I'm so impressed with his ability to stand in the pocket at times and not just get out of there. There's times when I feel like, man, he's got to get going, and he's not. Like he's hangs in there. He hangs in there. I thought he hit Malachi Fields on kind of a sit down route where a really good job by Malachi Fields where he's running a seam against cover 2, and he kind of sits in that hole, and CJ Carr scans the field and finds him. Good job by CJ Carr. I mean, that's really good stuff. So, I don't know that there's going to be a ton of training wheels for him. He's shown he can take on more things. Now, I don't know that his growth is going to be linear like we would want, right? Notre Dame's got to be able to survive kind of a poor game from him. And hopefully that poor game comes against some of their lesser opponents, but I don't know that there's a ton of training wheels on CJ Carr right now. I thought he's looks really good. Generic username says, last season's defense looked like they wanted to stop the play every play. This year, it seems less urgent. I don't know that they're as comfortable with what they're doing. If I had to pick any reason why they don't seem as urgent, I don't know that they're as comfortable. They feel that the defense feels like a unit. I'm going to make a golf analogy here for a second. The defense feels like a unit that is going through a swing change, and they're not certain, A, if they should be even doing the swing change, and B, they're not certain play to play, swing to swing, if it's going to go the way that they want. And that's why I think you see it's not urgency, it's unsureness. Unsure if that's the deal. Jason Z says, how would you compare the different O and D unit performances from game 1 to game 2? Improved versus regress versus flat? I think the offense definitely grew. I mean, the offense definitely grew. I mean, they got the running game was much better. The pass blocking was much better. I mean, they were clearly functional, right? I mean, they scored 33 points. I'll say 34 because, they're not kicking the extra point or whatever. They scored 34 points. They were moving the ball. A couple missed plays in the red zone or kind of near the red zone there when you can extend drives. But, you score 4 touchdowns against a defense like an SEC type defense, kick 2 field goals. You score 6 times. You should win the game. You got to win the game, So I thought the offense definitely improved. I don't know that the defense regressed per se, because here's the thing. I think A&M, and Jamie and I talked about this. If you pressure Marcel Reed, he is a different quarterback. He's 3 of 12 for 45 yards against pressure. Okay. So they had to pressure him, and he's 14 of 25 for 200 and whatever it was, and 2 touchdowns when he's in a clean pocket. And it seemed like he was in a clean pocket a lot, right? So it's just, you couldn't have it. And they've got some guys that could threaten Notre Dame. We said it. Mario Craver is a real guy. He's a dude. And then you don't have Devontae Smith, who apparently hurts his ankle in the pregame, in the warmups. Casey Concepcion is a dude. Christian Gray and Carson Hobbs, they simply had a tough time dealing with those guys. Now, the question I have is, you see that this is a problem, okay? And frankly, you kind of should have known this was a problem. They did not have a plan for those two. And that is where I have an issue with the defensive game plan. You can't tell me you had a good plan for those two guys when I see them not doubling, not being bracketed. I mean, we're talking about 11 catches for 289 yards for 2 players. In my opinion, Notre Dame lost because they could not cover 2 wide receivers for Texas A&M. And that, to me, is where it gets to be, this is unacceptable. You have to figure out how to limit those players. Your key to winning is stopping the slot and stopping the field. And Notre Dame, over and over again, was not able to do that. And I think you are doing a disservice to Carson Hobbs in his second career game, where he has to go essentially the whole way at nickel, right? The only time he came out was when they went base and they got the third linebacker on the field. You're doing him a disservice when it's just you're in man against Mario Craver over and over again, and you're not getting a ton of help. And not only that, but now you're not getting a pass rush, and he's got to cover for 3-4 seconds every single time. That's no good, right? Christian Gray, it was apparent on the first series. Casey Concepcion runs a go or a post on Christian Gray, and Christian Gray's trailing and not in touch. If Casey Concepcion, if he catches the ball, it's a huge gain on their first series. He doesn't catch it. He doesn't come down with it. They end up having to punt. Over and over again, we saw this. On the plays in the second half, where, Notre Dame was able to get off the field. He missed a go ball against Carson Hobbs. He missed a go ball against Christian Gray. They could have had a 90-something yard touchdown when the Rendell pinned him deep. They could have had a 90-plus yard touchdown if Marcel Reed puts it on him, or at least a 50-yard gain. That's where you gotta see it. You got to see it early and say, we got to make some sort of change. We got to make some sort of adjustment. We have to bracket these guys. Leonard Moore is out there 1 of 5 against. They threw it him one time. He intercepts it. They throw him in another couple of times, and he breaks up the pass. I mean, the 3 ball disruptions, one of which results in a turnover on 5 times they threw at him. And I'll tell you, I think the one catch was in a zone where it probably giving it up. I don't remember him giving up anything in man. Maybe he did. So that's to me where it is. You got to make adjustments, and you got to have a plan, and you got to have something in the game plan to deal with those guys. And if that's, hey, we got to take Leonard Moore off the boundary and put him on Craver. We got to take Leonard Moore off the boundary and put on Concepcion. Here's the other part, right? They take Christian Gray gets hurt, or I think it was Leonard Moore when he got hurt. Leonard Moore gets hurt. He comes out of the game. They put in Mark Zachary, right? Then you put Christian Gray to the boundary, Mark Zachary to the field. Obviously, you don't feel super comfortable with Mark Zachary being out there by himself. But what do? You put him in man against Casey Concepcion. He runs an out and up, and Mark Zachary bites on the out, and he gets cooked. Put a safety over top of him, please. Like I'm looking at it from the press box, and I'm thinking, why doesn't he have help here? Give him someone over the top. If you're not comfortable with it, don't do it. He goes down, catches it, ball's at the 1, and they score a play later. So it's that sort of thing. It's like, know your personnel, man. You got to know what you got. And I just didn't think they did that enough. And so, they ended up getting shredded on defense, especially in the passing game in that first half. Stussy's 21, thoughts on Knapp and Wagner. I thought they played better. I need to go watch it back. I haven't gotten a chance to watch the game again because I've been traveling today. But I definitely think they played better, right? And I don't know. They certainly didn't prevent Notre Dame from doing things on offense, I think Knapp is especially, like, just he's got to work on the pass rush stuff. He's got to work on his pass sets. He's got to work on different kinds of pass rushes. But generally speaking, I thought they did well. I thought they run blocked better than I think the stats would say. Like I said, you got 35 touches for 160 for Love and Price. That should be good enough to win. But we got to watch it back. And when Jamie watches, he's probably watching it as we speak. He'll talk about it on Monday, and we'll talk about it on Tuesday as well. Jason Z says, can we talk about safety play, please? Yes, we can do that right now. I think Tay Johnson, to be honest, I think that's his spot now. I'm pretty sure he played the entire second half. I think he played every snap in place of Stroman. I think the only time Stroman was in the game was when Notre Dame was going with like 6 DBs. Because I just think Tay Johnson he looks phenomenal out there. And here's the thing. The word we got was they just don't know if you can trust him with the assignment stuff. I'm not seeing him busting out there. I'm not seeing him, mental errors, turning guys loose. They're having to move him around because he doesn't know where he's supposed to be. I'm not seeing that. And if he's not doing that, I think he's explosive. I think he's big. I think he's a good tackler. And I think he's a playmaker. And to their credit, I think that the decision's been made. I would be surprised if Bronte Johnson doesn't start next week. And frankly, Jalen Stroman, there's a wheel route against his man on the opening touchdown. He doesn't carry his man, and it's just a mistake. That's the kind of mistake that's that's why you're not playing Bronte Johnson kind of thing. And then he goes to wrap up, misses the tackle. Christian Gray, a terrible attempt. You can't just throw the shoulder, and it's an 86-yard touchdown. It's just that is unacceptable, right? Obviously, Adon Schuler, I thought he played fine. He gets ejected. That's a disgrace, in my opinion. You can't be super slow-mo in this stuff. Super slow-mo. We're getting like 1,000 frames per second to see if his crime. It's not a penalty. It just isn't. And apparently there's Terry McCauley didn't like the penalty either. Apparently the broadcast didn't like the penalty. It's just not a penalty. And now he's kicked out of the game, and he's not going to be able to start next week as well. I think we might see they might have Bronte Johnson and Jalen Stroman out there. I'm fine if it's Luke Talich. I don't think he's a bad player. I think Luke Talich is fine. It's just I think they want Bronte Johnson out there with someone a little bit more seasoned, so that might be Stroman. We'll have to see Stroman slide into the a Don Shula spot. Ryan says, why is Tay Johnson the only free safety on the roster? Poor offseason roster construction. I don't know that he's the only one. I mean, I think Jalen Stroman can do it. He had a bad moment, you know? I mean, and the thing is, if you have Tay Johnson to come in for him, that's fine. Because then you have Stroman to come back up. And then you have Luke Talich. I think it's fine if you have Bronte Johnson. Bronte Johnson's why you don't get more in the portal. Because he's ready to play. You know? I mean, I'm fine with that. Jason Z says, transfer portal grade so far. Okay, I'll give Malachi Fields a B. Just because it's good. It's not great, but it's good. I'm in for that. Will Pauling hasn't had much of an opportunity, so I'll give him just a C, but it's kind of an incomplete. I mean, Devontae Smith, his is incomplete too. I mean, if the guy gets hurt in the pregame and he can't play, I don't know what to think about that. I think he's just kind of an incomplete there. I think Stroman is, man, he was a B. It's got to be a C. Like he gave up a touchdown. You know, there's a touchdown given up there. He's not playing bad. I didn't think he was bad at all against Miami. In fact, I thought he was solid. But I mean, you got to give him a C. I mean, I think they benched him for Bronte Johnson. So there's that. I've gone over that. I mean, Ty Washington, again, that's kind of a C, right? Jared Dawson didn't really come up in this game, so that's kind of a C. I mean, we're not getting like major hits, right? And I think the thing with Devontae Smith, and we can get into this about the nickel too. I mean, Noah Burnett, I mean, you got to give him an A. He hasn't missed a kick, and you know he's looked good so far. You got to give Noah Burnett an A. The nickel situation is because here's the other part, right? People are very kind of upset with Chris Ash in the zone. I see the zone a lot, like on Twitter. People are upset about him playing zone. I do not think he was comfortable in man coverage with Hobbs and Gray against those wide receivers. They were not. They were having a very tough time. I don't know that he was confident in that. And this is the first time since Notre Dame's had a good defense. When we're talking, 23 and 24, when those were good defense, you had Thomas Harper and you had Jordan Clark. You could count on those guys. They were very good in coverage. They were very sticky in coverage. These are good cover players. And the thing that I brought up on Thursday is this is the first time Notre Dame's rotating at nickel. And Carson Hobbs is going through the trials that Thomas Harper went through at Oklahoma State. And he's going through the trials that Jordan Clark went through at Arizona State. And by the time they got to Notre Dame as fifth-year guys, they were seasoned. They had played a ton of football. And they were ready to play at a high level. But we didn't get to see their warts and their learning curve because they were at another school. So it didn't matter to Notre Dame fans. It didn't matter to us that they were going through that because it was for someone else. Carson Hobbs is going through that trial process right now, and there's going to be bad moments because it's hard to play in a nickel. It just is. But like when he's got to go the whole game, that's why I'm kind of harping on, hey, like you put him in a bad spot in terms of, man, you didn't give him any help. You're not helping him out. It's just like that's the deal. And maybe you got to go with another configuration. You got to help out your guys, but it's hard for them to deal with that. So I think the portal on offense has been good to okay. Defensively, Elijah Hughes isn't playing that much. Jared Dawson didn't really show up yesterday. He showed up fine in the Miami game. He might have been Notre Dame's best interior guy in the Miami game. So That's the deal. Jason Warnock says they talked all offseason that they didn't need to change the defense, and they are. Why are they changing the defense? So I think for me, the way I think about this is what Al Golden was really good at was knowing how to manipulate quarterbacks and how to ask them questions. You're making the offense answer questions about what the defense is doing. I feel like this year, Notre Dame is reacting to what the offense is giving them and trying to be the problem solvers that way. And Al Golden was so good because he flipped that. He made the offense answer the questions. I'm sending this. How are you going to deal with it? I'm going to show you this coverage, and then I'm going to flip to this coverage, and I'm going to send this guy from this direction. How are you going to deal with it? Think of last year in the Louisville game. What was the play that was a huge play in that game that flipped it? It was a Ben Morrison blitz from the corner. He comes through, and he knocks the ball away, and he almost gets us up like a strip six. Or whatever it is, a strip sack, and then runs it back from Logan. Like that sort of thing is where you're dialing up a coverage, you're dialing up a pressure, but you're not sending numbers, but you're sending it from a direction they're not ready for. Notre Dame's not doing that. They show them a defense, they play the defense. They show them a defense, they show them a coverage, they play that coverage. They're not doing it enough to where they're making the offense answer questions. The offense is asking them questions, and right now Notre Dame does not have the answers a lot of the time, and that's the difference. So to me, you can keep the same playbook. Keep the same playbook if you want, but if you're not calling it, then who cares? It doesn't matter. You have to have a feel for when to call a pressure, because I'll tell you right now, how many times in that final drive did Notre Dame send a pressure on Marcel Reed? Ever? Did it ever happen? Or was it just four and you're covering in the back, right? Like you have to heat him up. You have to show him something that he's not ready for. And that didn't happen. Didn't happen, right? So we talk about changing the defense. It's about putting them in the right call at the right time with the right pressure at the right moment. Chris Ash does not have a good feel for that right now. And that was something that Al Golden definitely had in 23 and 24. He had a good feel for when to send the pressures and how to send the pressures and with who and at the right time. And you're losing that. And you can't just – and so this is where I get into like Marcus Freeman. I get into, should he fire him? It's not what they're doing. It's when they're doing it and how they're implementing it. In my opinion, right? Maybe there are schemes. I have to go look. Maybe there are schemes that are just unsound and unstructured. It's just not going to work, right? That is possible. But in my opinion, it's a matter of getting them in the right call at the right time with the right personnel against what the offense is doing. Ask questions of the offense. Make them think. Special case says if Reed could throw a go route, they would have scored 50, overthrow twice. I think it was more than twice, and this is a good point. I don't want to get this lost because I think people are going to look at the second half and be like, well, Notre Dame got a bunch of stops. They got a bunch of stops because Reed missed on throws. 17 of 37, he missed on throws. So this is a good point by Special K, and it needs to be pointed out. Special K says, why not move more to the field? Isn't it easier to give help to Gray if he's boundary? Why not put him with their best wide receiver? You're getting cooked by Craver, then put Leonard Moore on him. That's the deal. Austin Bradley says, I think the most concerning part of watching is that the defense doesn't know where to line up on literally the first play of a series. That sort of thing does happen. Yes. It's got to get figured out. It's got to get figured out. Jason Z says, did the defense look like it's thinking too much? There seems to be a ton of pre-snap confusion, too much installed. I think there's a lot of post-snap confusion, post-play confusion, guys looking at each other like, where are you at? We never saw this last year. This was not a thing last year. You know, someone asked me in a tailgate, who is the best, your favorite team to watch or your favorite coach to watch scheme up stuff? And I said, honestly, it's Al Golden. Because he knows how to scheme it. He knows how to get his guys ready to go. Organized. We talked about it over and over again, how organized they are back there. Everyone's on the same page. Everyone knows where they're supposed to be. Everyone's playing it exactly right. They're always sending the help. They're always sending the help. They're always playing the right leverage. And the safeties are exactly where they're supposed to be over and over again. Quinn Crudson, what's worse, the targeting or the hold on Donnie? So I'm going to just say this about the holding thing. I'm not going to do the cost them the game because it's not how football works. Okay. This is what I'm going to say about the holding. It's unacceptable. It is unacceptable to miss it. It is immediate. Donovan Heinisch immediately gets into the backfield. He wins immediately. Both of those eyes should go right to him. The offensive lineman turns and tackles him from his legs. It is egregious to the point of, like, it's not even incompetence. It's a decision. In my opinion, it is so clear that it is a decision on the part of the two referees. We are going to let this go. It is a hold, and we are going to let it happen for reasons I don't know, and I don't care. It is an unacceptable miss. And I don't know if they were SEC officials or what they were. Whoever they were, that conference, that affiliation, I don't know if it should be public because it's a play that decided the game. It's an unacceptable miss. And if we're going to sit here and Chris Ash needs to be fired, because I'm going to tell you something else about that in a second. Chris Ash needs to be fired. Marcus Freeman needs to take over play calls. And you know, players, Carson Hobbs this, Christian Gray that. If we're going to get on those guys for being accountable, then the refs need to be accountable. You need to be accountable. It's unacceptable at this level of football. This is not Pee Wee. This is not Pop Warner. This is major college football. It's an unacceptable miss on their part. Here's the thing about that call, because there's been a lot of, and when I say the call, I mean the defensive call. There's a lot of chatter about whether Notre Dame called timeout, okay, on before the final play. And you think, well, you're giving A&M a chance to set up a play that they like. Here's the thing, okay? There's a lot of debate on whether you should call a timeout or not, okay? And people can have different opinions, and that's fine. What ended up happening is A&M got into a play that Notre Dame knew what was coming, and they knew the routes. And they got into a coverage to defend it. And not just that, but then they also had a pressure ready to go that slants your D tackles, and you loop around Jalen Sneed. I wonder if Jalen Sneed is a beat late on looping around. I'm not sure. I don't know. So I'm not going to say that. It just seems like he does need to loop around. Now, because I don't know that you want Reed to be able to flush like that. But Donovan Heinisch gets held. He gets tackled, right? So that's a good play call. That's a good defensive structure. You got your guy into the backfield, and he gets tackled. He created a penalty. That was not called. Everything else is covered up. The not even the mistake by Bowen, who said it in the press conference, and kudos to him for going to the press conference answering the question, because he illuminated what actually happened there. He knew the tight end was going to run a wheel. He knew the player was going to go in motion. And here's the other part. If you watch that back, Carson Hobbs knows he's going in motion too. He anticipates the motion, and he gets on it. Notre Dame knows exactly what play Texas A&M was going to run. In fact, I think because they knew, that is what allowed the play to be successful for Texas A&M, because Drake Bowen beats the tight end to the spot, and he gets over the top of him. And here's the thing about covering wheel routes. you expect that ball to go over the top. And so Drake Bowen is trying to get over the top to cut it off. And what ended up happening is he got too over the top on it, and he allowed for the tight end to basically box him out and use his body as a shield. And Drake Bowen got behind him and out of position. It's an unfortunate thing that happened. Drake Bowen is playing. He knows the route, and he's playing for an over-the-top ball. The quarterback throws it short. The tight end boxes him out. He can't get around his big body. And as someone who's had to cover tight ends where I'm draped all over them and I can't get around them because they're so wide, I understand exactly what happened there. It's unfortunate for Drake Bowen, but Notre Dame was in the right call. They induced a penalty that was not called. They induced a pressure that didn't get home because the man was tackled. You had the players in the right spot. It just A&M made the play. So I can't criticize them because I think what they plan to do is they call a timeout. I think they had them in the right. They had everything worked out for them. It's just they didn't get the penalty call, and Drake Bowen just kind of overran the play a little bit because he knew exactly what they were trying to do, which is unfortunate for him. Kudos to him for going up to the press conference and talking about it. Matt Irish says, thank you for the super chat. Keep the faith, win or lose. Thanks for the great coverage. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate those words. Okay. This is going away. If you're going to emote, I'm telling you, I'm just going to ban you. Like, I don't have time for it. I don't have time for it. Okay. Be an adult, please. I need you to be adults. Seat Pampson says secondary desperately needs Gray to regain his confidence. He's playing behind a shoulder problem, but they need him. No one else behind him. 100%. They do need him to snap out of it. He's better than this. He's better than he played. They need him to snap out of it because he, like you said, there's no one really behind him. They don't think Golden is ready. I don't know that they think Mark Zachary's ready. Okay, so in my opinion, they need to get Carson Hobbs working at the field because they're clearly ready to play him. Get him working at the field so that if someone happens to him, you get Devontae Smith in slot, you get Carson Hobbs playing in the field. They don't feel comfortable with Mark Zachary, and that's fine. He doesn't have to be ready to go right now. Okay, not everyone's Leonard Moore, who is an unbelievable football player, by the way. Leonard Moore's a stud. Simex, Kevin, tremendous if incoming, but I think the first time starting quarterback will be factored in if they win out when looking at the two last second losses, but the defense is a problem. So just to play devil's advocate with this, the way that it happens is Notre Dame's offense continues to play well, and then the defense makes strides and becomes a shutdown unit. And then the committee says, well, first start of the year, new defensive coordinator, they had to get it figured out. They have gotten it figured out. Like if they go out and have a good performance against USC, which Sim Kev says, a tremendous if they can get it figured out against USC, then the narrative changes. This team is different. That's how it happens. Easier said than done. But that is how it gets going. Irish SPE, not a hit on Buckner, just curious. Why not a receiver as holder? TB must be best hands for it and gives him flexibility with play calls. Yeah, I mean, he drops the snap and he's able to get up and make a throw and be athletic and make a throw. I assume that's why. I mean, I feel for him. I'm gutted for him. And I didn't realize, I watched some of it back afterwards. I'm at the game, so I'm not watching the TV copy. They're showing him the entire final drive. I feel so bad for him. I mean, he's clear. You could see it on his face. He's clearly gutted. Like he's clearly just distraught. Please don't let them score, right? I feel for him. I feel so bad for him. Because here's the thing. He had a fake punt against Georgia Tech that worked. He had a fake punt against USC that worked, that helped Notre Dame win that game. He's been, people say, the moment did not get to him. He played at the Horseshoe as a starting quarterback. He played in a bowl game against South Carolina as a quarterback. The moment didn't get to him. He just dropped it. It's a fluke thing that happened, and it's a bummer, and you hate for it to happen. And it's one of those things like you're accountable. You have to catch it. You can't drop it. But as human beings, you understand these are just fluke things, and it's unfortunate. Eric Barragon says, Mike made a comment yesterday about rumblings in the preseason about the defense having scheme and communication issues. Can you touch on that? So throughout camp, we hear things, right? And sometimes these things are just kind of not reportable. It's just like hearsay, right? You hear stuff. To me, here's the thing. I take all of this with a grain of salt, and B, as insight into they don't trust the scheme. It doesn't mean it's bad scheme. It doesn't mean that it can't work. To me, it's just a simple fact of we don't trust it. And they play like they don't trust it. And Chris Ash, more than anything else, has to convince them that this is going to work. Just stay the course. Stay with me. It is going to work. That is his biggest task. He has to get them to believe we are doing the right things. We are going to get better. Just hang with me. They're playing like a team who doesn't trust it, even though maybe they even want to trust it. Maybe they don't know that they don't trust it, but they're playing like they don't. Right? So, anytime you go from Al Golden, who pushed every right button for 2 years, to someone like Chris Ash, who is different. He has a different personality, and he's trying to do some different things as far as zones and things like that, and not sending as much pressure. And anytime you're messing with the staple of what the defense is, they've been about pressure forever. When you're messing with that, when I say forever, I mean the last 2 years. But these players, that's all they know. It's all Adon Schuler knows. That's all Leonard Moore knows. It's all KVA knows. It's all Drake Bowen knows. It's all Jaden Osbury knows. They don't know any different. That's all they know. When you're changing that, it's like, hey, man, we'll ride with you. We'll ride with you. But I don't know if I ride with you. That's why I talked about the swing change with golf. When you got to be fully committed every single time. And if you have a little bit of doubt, that ball's going sideways. And that's kind of what I see. That's kind of what I see. And that's the thing that he's got to get fixed more than anything. If you've got to fix your fitness, right? If you've got a problem with your fitness and your activity levels and you got to fix that, you're a little bit older, what am I going to do? I can't go run all the time. I'm going to get hurt. Can't go play basketball full court up and down, but I want to get moving around. Try pickleball. And you can do that with H2 Pickleball, founded by Notre Dame alum Todd Hill. He's teaming with fellow alums Jack Gibbs and Will Howells, a top 10 pickleball pro, to bring Notre Dame fans to Notre Dame Pickleball Crew League. Besides football, what better way to connect and engage Notre Dame fans than through pickleball? Membership is free, and members will have access to special pickleball events and discounts. The first event will be a tournament before the Purdue game with medal rounds played on campus. A portion of the proceeds will go to the Rockne Athletics Fund to support Notre Dame student athletes. Contact Todd at h2pickleball.com or 574-339-5195 to join the league. And be sure to visit the H2 Pickleball facility in Mishawaka when you are in town. H2 Pickleball is located at 55801 Evergreen Plaza Drive, Mishawaka, Indiana. Stussy's 21. Realistic steps forward for this defense. Ash isn't going to be fired. Realistic steps forward. A, figure out pressure. How is Notre Dame getting pressure? That's the first thing. Without pressure, they can't cover long enough, and they are just going to be vulnerable in the back. Their slot isn't as good as last year. They don't have Xavier Watts last year, so they are whatever percentage worse. If it's 1% or 2%, they aren't as good. They need to get pressure. That is the first thing. The second thing they need to get figured out is make sure that all of the coverages that you're in, all the communication is sound, all the scheme fits are sound, and everyone believes in what they're doing. Now, I'm a little bit alarmed and concerned that they had a bye to get this figured out and they didn't. That concerns me. It very much concerns me that they had a bye and they saw what Texas A&M could do, and they didn't have a plan for that. The first half is when you go about your plan. And they didn't have a plan for Concepcion or Craver. That concerns me. You had a bye. You had time to get it figured out, and you didn't. But realistically, that is what they need to do. They need to figure out the coverage schemes. They need to figure out the communication schemes. They need to get the guys to trust it. Third thing that they got to figure out, and I put this out, havoc rate. Their havoc rate is abysmal. They have 4 tackles for loss on the entire season. Through 2 games, they have 4 tackles for loss. Texas A&M ran 69 plays. They had 2 tackles for loss in the game. They had no sacks. They had 3 quarterback hits. 37 dropbacks, 3 quarterback hits. No good. No bueno. You got to create havoc. You have to get tackles for loss. Texas A&M had 8 tackles for loss against Notre Dame yesterday. Now, it's not a guarantee. Obviously, Notre Dame scored 33 points on offense. 34 points if you want to assume extra points. Okay? You have to get havoc. They don't have a pass rush. They're not creating havoc otherwise. And in the secondary, there's too many busts going on. There's too many free runners. There's too many guys running free in the secondary. You got to get it figured out. Those are the 3 things that Notre Dame's got to do. That's realistic to me. Got to get that figured out. Ryan says, what level of blame do you put on Mickens in Washington? The confusion and lack of production can't stop at Ash. I mean, let's just go through the tiers of responsibility. Okay. At the top of the mountain is Chris Ash. It's his job. It's his defense. He's the coordinator. He has to figure that out. Okay. It's up to him. On down is the position coaches. They've got to figure out why are we having busts? Why isn't the pass rush working? Why isn't Bryce Young getting home? Why isn't Jordan Botelho getting home? Why isn't Boubacar Traore? Boubacar Traore very quiet yesterday. Why? Right? Then it's on down to the players. Okay? So, like, for me, it's not level of blame. It's just the hierarchy of responsibility. And so they come after, and look, everyone's accountable. Everyone's accountable, right? Chris Ash is most accountable. Marcus Freeman is most accountable above that, right? So it's Freeman, Ash, coordinate or position coaches, players. Okay, everyone's accountable. Everyone has to do their role. So for me, it's not about blame. I don't know what Mickens is doing this year versus last year when everything was great and everything was going fine. I don't know that, right? I can't say, right? So I don't want to do that. I'm just saying the hierarchy of responsibility is what it is. They got to get it figured out. Did Burnham play? He played 3 snaps, Isaac K. We need to get some information here. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if there was an injury or if that's just performance related or what it is. It's just I don't understand. Three reps for him. It's not going to work. It's not going to work for me. But maybe he's hurt, right? If he's hurt, then that's what it is. But I got 3 snaps for him on PFF. Let's do some more. Janice, thank you for being here. Janice McCabe. I'm crushed. I'm 85 and been waiting for a championship since 1988. The 1970s were great. The defensive coach stinks. Janice, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that happened. Thank you for being in this show. I appreciate your attendance and being here. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe to our channel. I don't remember you being in this show before, but I appreciate it. 85, 80. First of all, you saw a championship in 1993. I think it should count. Okay, so the moments don't go away for that. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Hang in there. Notre Dame got close last year. Hang in there. Hopefully, Notre Dame can continue to put together a good season here. Jason Z says everyone needs to take the overs for the next 10 games. Easy money with this O&D. I mean, you got a long Notre Dame's offense. I mean, that was a big step that they took. And I think that's meaningful. Now, I don't expect that everything's going to be linear upward for Carr. There might be peaks and valleys with him. He's a young player, and that's usually how it works. Okay, but it was a very positive step for Notre Dame and what's going on there. Ryan says Notre Dame not forcing Miami or A&M's O-line to prove to be the biggest thing that will show improvement. Yeah. I mean, both lines of the opponent beat Notre Dame's D-line for sure, 100%. Rajon says, "What's up with Bryce Young? I expected a game changer." It's a good question. He just must not be ready. Must not be ready to be that guy, which surprises me. That's something I was wrong about. 100% wrong about going into the season. I thought there was going to be a major step forward. Funny thing about Bryce Young is I'm standing there waiting for the player walk to happen, and we're in the little media kind of cube where the media gets to stand, take pictures of the player walk. I feel someone tap me on my shoulder, look up. There's Bryant Young. He's a very large man. Taps my shoulder, goes underneath. "Yes, Mr. Young, you can absolutely go through this line and do whatever you want." So that was interesting for me. Brian Haney says, I think so. Super chat from Brian Haney, and I think this is the comment here. "Sorry I was late. Where was Ash ever successful on his own?" I mean, you can make the case he's not on his own here because he's just on his own. I mean, he was successful with Ohio State for sure. I mean, you're talking about making improvements, at other places. I mean, in hindsight, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good as in hindsight. It doesn't look good from a hiring standpoint. It looks like a miss right now. And it didn't, I don't want to hindsight it because you could get, who knows, right? Maybe Mike Mickens does a better job. I don't know. But just from the hiring standpoint, it doesn't look good. You couldn't, here's the thing. You couldn't go 0-2 in the first games. You could go 1-1. 1-1 is fine. And you're top 10 and you have the season to go. You got to go 1-1 and they didn't. They went 0-2. And it really puts them behind the 8 ball. Not to mention the fact that the reason you go 0-2 is you just don't look that good, especially on defense. That's the problem. That's the problem. Austin Bradley says, "Easy to be successful with Ohio State players." I mean, he said he thought he had Ohio State caliber players. Which, again, if you think, here's the other part, right? In a talent evaluation, if you think that you've got that caliber of talent, and you coordinate and game plan around that talent just being like, "I'm going to win all my one-on-one matchups," and you don't, you better be ready to make changes. And those changes haven't come yet, So, I mean, what was the passing yardage? 360 yards on 17 completions, 21.2 yards of completion. I mean, that's bad. That's real bad. Every coach in the world, all they think about is limiting explosives. That's all they think about. How do we limit explosives? And you lost because it was explosive over and over again. Lauren Grad, does Mike Mickens bear any blame here? I feel some of those safety and cornerback poor plays are more on Mickens' crew than on Ash. Kind of spoke about this a little bit. I think, it's kind of hard because Christian Gray, I mean, he's an experienced player, right? I don't think Mike Mickens turned him into a worse player this year. The one on cover, there was one play on cover 2. I think it was on 3rd down where, man, they threw a corner route right where Christian Gray was sitting. It was the play he hurt himself. They threw a corner route on 3rd down right where Christian Gray was sitting. That's got to be picked off. It is 100% of the time it's got to be picked off or broken up. And it's a completion. Then he hurts himself out of the game, throw out and up against Mark Zachary, and it's a touchdown. Or they're at the 1-yard line. So I don't want to, again, use the word blame. He's responsible. This is his unit, right? He's responsible for it. Is Mike Mickens doing a bad job because Jalen Stroman doesn't carry his receiver on a wheel? It's something if your player runs a wheel, you got to follow him. You got to carry it. You know, you can't just turn a guy loose like that. It's early in the game, and then it results in a touchdown because you don't make the tackle. I don't know. It's hard for me to get on a coach when that's an experienced player. So, you know, he's been good. Lucas Gaddis, can we fire Chris Ash and get John Gruden? They could. I don't know. He's an offensive coach. I don't know why that's a good idea. They could. I think that would be bad. It would be a bad idea, in my opinion. Yeah, Austin Bradley said Reed missed multiple what would have been 50-plus yard touchdowns. Yeah. I mean, he missed a 90-yarder. They had him on a 90-yarder. I think it was Concepcion. He just threw it a little bit too far. Sonny D says, I thought the O-line took a step forward against A&M. Excited to see how they perform against that. I agree. I'm excited to see the offensive line, too. I thought Gerby Lambert played better. I thought they all played better. Billy Schroth had a very good game. And the running game looked good against a solid defense. You know, running game looked good against solid defense. So I think there's a lot to look for. Lucas Gaddis says, come on, I'm not looking at his past. I'm saying he's an offensive coach. What does he know about defense? Isaac K says, get Brent Key on campus right now. Brent Key, yeah. To do what? I'm not getting rid of Marcus. Come on, man. Come on. Pat Subkowski, protect Janice at all costs, 100%. I agree. Janice, hang in there. Eric Fasano says, there is a pre- and post-USC Christian Gray. The latter makes me feel like I'm watching Highway 15 highlights. Highway 15 is a reference to Clifford Jefferson from the 2000s Davy teams. He's better than Clifford Jefferson, but there has been a USC uncovered something. They definitely did in terms of throwing go balls at Christian Gray. And it's been uncovered, and it's on tape, and it is going to keep happening for as long as Notre Dame is playing man coverage. It's going to happen against USC again. I 100% guarantee it. Every team is going to try it from now on. There is a problem with turning and running for him, and it has not been worked out. And, some of it from the press box, you kind of see when there's losses, there's bad reps when the ball doesn't go that way. A very tough night for Christian Gray. Very tough night. The good thing is he's very confident. He's going to hang in there, and he will make a play for you. That's the good thing about Christian Gray is he will make a play, and he has made plays. He's made some of the biggest plays of any corner of the last whatever many years. He will make a play, but he's got to figure out the goal ball, when to turn and run, and when to turn around and handle that better. He's got to figure that out. He's got to. Kevin Tetrick says, why do people think a coach, Gruden, that has never coached the defensive side of the ball would be a good defensive coordinator? It's a great question. I asked the same thing. Ryan says the AP poll still ranking Notre Dame this week basically guarantees they can make the college football playoff just an inch up. The AP poll is in the committee, but, we'll see. We'll see. Pry? I don't know who Brent Pry is. Who's Brent Pry? Isaac K. I'll talk about that. Lauren Grad says we really should have won the game. The refs gave them 10 points with the targeting call and then the missed holding call in the last play of the game. And what is the conversation like today if Notre Dame wins? Yeah, what's the conversation? I think you'd still have the same concerns about the defense for sure. But what's the conversation about, obviously we're in a much better mood, if you found a way to win. But they didn't win. If Drake Bowen knocks down the ball or the kid loses the ball in the lights and he drops it or whatever, Notre Dame wins. Obviously Notre Dame's we're in a better mood. Everyone's in a better mood. But the problems would still exist. So those got to be addressed. I don't know. Yeah, the VT coach that got fired, that's Brent Pry. Maybe. Jalen Stroman might not like that, considering he left there. Zeitghost, the refs stole the game from us. I don't know that that's true. Notre Dame dropped a extra point. Notre Dame did well to lose the game. Notre Dame did well to lose the game on their own. Look, I mean, they called the touchdown back on the kickoff return. They didn't have to call that. They did. So, it just is what it is. Too many plays not made this happen. Yeah, John Imperial says we'd be saying survive in advance if Notre Dame would win the game. I mean, I certainly remember that experience. Pat Sapkowski says, I disagree with the ref's argument. Notre Dame had a 10-point lead and just let A&M back in. They had a 10-point lead. They could have pushed it to 14 at various points. They had a chance to go up by 10 again. And they got stopped on fourth down. Notre Dame had a lot of chances to kind of take control of this game, and they didn't. And A&M made the plays to make sure Notre Dame didn't take control of the game. A&M made the plays. You got to give them credit for that. They made plays, and they made enough plays to win, and they did. Pat Sapkowski says, same thing with blaming Buckner. He didn't give up 41. Yeah, I mean, it was just a play in the game that didn't get made amongst many. It's one of those that's a little more routine, right? It's a routine play that you got to make, but, Notre Dame doesn't have to give up a touchdown either. It's just the way it goes. I think, I think the thing is Notre Dame's got to hang in there, A, because they do have some chance to make the playoff, and B, this is a young team. They still have players with eligibility. I mean, CJ Carr, right? Build around CJ Carr, right? You can build. So you're building towards next season. You're building towards the future with CJ Carr right now, and that's a good thing. Offensive line, you got guys that can come back. Receivers, guys that can come back. And to me, it's like, because you have CJ Carr, that's why you continue to engage Malachi Fields. You continue to engage Will Pauling and Jordan Faison and Eli Raridan, who had a good game. And Jaden Greathouse, obviously, right? Like, you have youth there. For me, you're developing Bronte Johnson. I mean, he could be a frontline safety for you. You continue to develop Bronte Johnson. To me, it's different where you go with Bronte in the secondary because he needs the reps, whereas, like, continue to go to Malachi Fields and Will Pauling, the transfers, on offense because they help you develop CJ Carr. You got to develop CJ Carr. You got to build him up, right? You got to get him ready to go. On defense, you got to build up Bronte Johnson because he is the key. He can be a game changer for Notre Dame. Things can change for Notre Dame with him in the secondary, with him next to Don Schuler. It can, right? You got to continue to develop Carson Hobbs, continue to develop your linebackers, continue to develop your defensive line, right? Like, to me, this team should not be anywhere near, down in the dumps. You got to figure it out. You've got to figure it out. Okay? And this is when you figure out what the culture actually is. It's easy to be a culture guy when everything's good. It's easy to be a culture guy when you're winning, when everyone's patting you on the back. It's like, are you a culture guy when it's bad, when it's 0-2? Is that when you're a culture guy? Like, to me, that's why it's good that Drake Bowen goes into the thing. He's a captain, gives up a touchdown at the end, the game winner, goes and explains what happened. He answered 2 questions. One of which was, why did this play happen that Notre Dame lost? Answer the question. Culture guy. I'm here to answer the tough stuff as well as the good stuff. Right? Let's see what Notre Dame's culture actually is. And to me, this is where Marcus Freeman has thrived in the past. Someone asked me, can Marcus Freeman, someone asked me, can Marcus Freeman, do you have confidence he's going to do this? Yeah. I mean, what did everyone think it was going to be in 2022? 0-2 start, lose to Ohio State, lose to Marshall, right? They picked up the pieces, right? They found a way to pick up the pieces with a much less talented team. 2023, figured it out, how to pick up the pieces. They lost bad games. They lost to Louisville, right? Bad loss. Lost to Clemson, bad loss. Picked up the pieces, right? Last year, you lose to NIU, right? Everyone's down in the dumps. You found a way to pick up the pieces. He has been able to do that. He's been able to push the right buttons. He has to do it again. He has to do it again. He has to find a way to do it. He has to push the right buttons with his coaches. He has to push the right buttons with his defense. And he has to push the right buttons with the players at large. That's his job. That's what he has to do. Right? So it is what it is. You know, I'm confident that it'll happen because it's happened in the past. He's been good at this in the past. And he's got a young team, and he's got a young quarterback who looks good. Okay? Hit the like. Hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell. So whatever it is, we go live. We'll be back tomorrow on Power Hour with Mike and Jamie. And then we'll be back on Hit and Hustle. And we're going to break it down. And we're going to be here. And we're doing it. We're not going to be sourpusses. We're not going to be sad all the time. Okay? You deal with it. You break down the film. We talk about what's got to get better, what has gotten better, and you move on. You move on to Purdue. And that's what we're doing. All right? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I know it's hard sometimes to listen to this stuff. I know people don't really want to engage with it after a loss like that. It was traumatizing. It was tough in the stadium. Rajon says Tuesday. It's probably going to be noon Eastern. And then tomorrow's going to be 11 a.m. Eastern time. I'm sorry. It's going to be later than that because it's after the Marcus Freeman. It'll probably be 1 Eastern time, actually, because Marcus Freeman's going to talk at 12:30 Eastern. And then we'll go after that. Power Hour will come after Marcus Freeman speaks. So thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Watch some football. I got you out right as the football is starting, Sunday Night Football. Enjoy that. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Keep hitting and hustling.